Hey, I'm John. I'm going to go over the installation of a rest, a sight, a loop, some cat whiskers, and your basic setup of a bow today. This is going to be the first installment of many on the Bow Country Journal. So today we're going to go set up a 2010 Diamond Black Ice. It's a single cam bow. We'll start off with a single cam, and then eventually we'll get to double cam. And this is just going to be the basic installation of the components. A lot of people have different ways of doing things. The important part is if you get everything right, at the end you're going to end up shooting it anyway. So you don't get too critical about installation, because at the end when you tune it, that's when everything's going to come down to the fine tuning parts. So a lot of people have different ways of doing things. I'm going to do them one way. Doesn't mean it's the right way or the wrong way, but it is the way that I do things, and it seems to work pretty well. So first thing on a new bow, or on a new bow to you, is installing a rest. We're going to go with what seems to be one of the favorites, and it's a pretty simple install, and that's going to be a whisker biscuit. Instead of leaving it in the bow vise, I'm going to hold it so it's easier to see. Whisker biscuit in the package comes already assembled, so you don't have to put it together. The only thing you have to do is install it on the bow. It comes with 2 install bolts. I use one for this application. For certain risers you may use 2, but for this one we're going to use 1. The screw holes that are in the side of the riser are called burger button holes. In the article that I wrote, it explains why. Mr. Berger was the guy who invented the rest for finger shooters, and he mounted them in the middle of the riser through what he called burger button holes. So a little history there, but real simple install, especially on a whisker biscuit. One install bolt. I like to put them in the bolt that's closer to the back of the shelf, and just turn the screws in. Should always have a good set of Allen wrenches. Tighten them up. The important part on this install is to make sure that the rest is square. Across the bottom of most bow risers, they'll have some type of alignment guide for you. In this case, Diamond and Bowtech, they stamp their serial number in the side of the riser, and they put a straight line across. If you use the bottom of the whisker biscuit mount, make it parallel to that stamp in the riser, you should be real close. You can use the set screw in the back of the mount to tighten it down and make sure that it's tight. The only downfall on that is it leaves a mark in your riser, and therefore I don't use it. That's your basic install. The other parts of this rest, there's a screw at the end, which is your up-down adjustment screw. You loosen that, you can move the whole thing up and down. The screw in the back, loosen that, and the whole thing moves left and right. We will take care of the left and right, up and down in a moment, but that's a quick install. Now, before you install your knock point, or in the case today we're going to do a loop, you want to make sure that the up and down adjustment is pretty close on the whisker biscuit. An easy way to check that is to take an arrow, knock it on the string, and you can make sure that it's close. And you want to make sure that the arrow the top of the arrow intersects the top of the burger buttonholes. So if you're close, then you can go ahead and do your knock point. In this case, you can look across, hopefully you can see this on tape, so you can look across the top of this arrow and it should be pretty close to intersecting the top of those burger buttonholes. And that's a basic install for a rest. Now we're going to go on to installing a string loop. Right. Of installing components on a bow will be putting on the string loop. You need a couple things. I hold my bow in a press while I do it. I don't have it compressed. I'm just holding it here because it's easier to work on when it's horizontal. So I use an easy press. They're probably one of the few that presses that will take any kind of bow. It seems to be a great press. I love it. I use the manual version. They also make an electric version, but well worth the money. So you need the bow in a press. You need a T-square. You need a lighter, and you need some string loop and a pair of scissors. First thing you use is the T-square. This particular T-square has millimeters on one side, inches on the other side. I use the inch side. Way to install it, you slide it down so that the bottom of the guide is sitting on the rest, and then you snap it on your string. You want to make sure that it's square. Once it snaps on, your string is against the holder and inside the clips, and then the bottom of the T is laying against your rest. Then the graduations on it, you got a 1/16 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch, and a 1/4 inch. General basic setup for most bows is an 1/8 of an inch knock high. So we're going to start off with that. The string I use is BCY release rope. Seems to be the easiest to work with. It's not real flimsy, it's not too thick, and it when you melt at the end it burns well. So the first thing you do to start with about a 4-inch piece of string loop, you want to burn one end. So use your lighter, burn it till it gets nice and hot. It'll form a ball. Blow it out and then flatten the ball against the metal part of your lighter. That's going to make it flat, and it's going to be a big flat spot. And what that does is that allows or keeps the end from pulling through the knot. And I'm going to show you how to make the knot here on the first end. So you want it nice and flat, larger, about double the size of the rope itself. The way to start, you fold the rope about in thirds, and you make a loop. You're going to take that loop portion and go underneath the string to the back, make the loop on the back side, and then you're going to feed that burned end and the other tag end through. And you're going to pull it, and you're just going to snug it up. You want the burned end with the bubble toward the top cam, in this case top wheel. Then you can position it where you need it. So we're going to start off at about an 1/8 of an inch knock high. Now remember, this is the top side of this loop, so this is what your knock is going to sit against. Once you get it in position, you can put your 2 fingers across the string and pull on the long end. Snug it down. You don't want to pull it real tight yet because you still may need to move it. And once you get that on there, get it in position, get it at the 1/8 of an inch mark where you want it, then you can take the T-square off because you're done with that. Now comes the loop portion. You want to take that long end and make a loop. And you want to make the loop a little smaller than what you're going to use. The reason why you make it a little smaller at this point is because when you pull the knot tight, everything will stretch a little bit and the loop itself is going to turn a little longer. You want to take that string and put it on the back side of your bowstring and then loop it under and go through the middle of the loop, come back around the side on top of the bowstring, and then go back under the string and up into the loop that's beside your string loop. So I will show you that again. Hopefully you can see it on camera. I'm going to undo it here and show you again. This is important. Make your loop on the back side of the bowstring. You go underneath and through the middle of your string loop. Then you circle around on top of your bowstring, back underneath the bowstring, and then through the hole. That's your string loop. Now you're going to have extra. We're going to cut that off once we get it in place. So this is where your scissors come in play. You take your scissors, you cut it so that there's about 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit less, of the material left, and then you're going to burn it. Make sure you pull it away from everything else so when you burn it, nothing else gets burned. And you burn it down and you do the same thing as you did in the beginning. You make a little ball, blow it out, and push it on the metal portion of your lighter. It'll put a nice flat spot on that, and then you can tighten it. Now there's a couple ways to tighten it. They make a tool that looks like a pair of pliers. I don't like to use that because with the pliers you're pushing on the bowstring and you can always damage that serving doing that. So what I use is a release aid. It's a shop release aid, which is it's a safety release. It looks like a regular release, but you can't fire it. It's just got a jaw on it that you put in there. And I put that on, and I'll put it in the loop, and I'll hold on to the string with my fingers on the outside. I'll wiggle it around a little bit, get all the loop tight, and then just pull. Pull on that a couple times, and it's good to go. And that's installation of a string loop. Alright, the next thing we install after we've installed the rest and the loop is a sight. Most sights, they all come with the same mounting hardware. Some are all one piece and they install all together. In this case, I'm using a Spot Hog it to demonstrate. It comes with a slide mount. So you install the slide mount and then put the sight into it. They all mount the same way. There's 2 screws located on the outside of the riser. On the same side, the outside, same side as you installed your rest, the sight's going to go just above it. It's standard mount, so all sights will fit. Pretty basic install. I'm doing it, holding it in my hand just for the camera. Normally I would have it in a bow vise, but in this case it's easier to just show you using my hands. So, real simple. I'm going to put the 2 screws in the riser. Start the top or the bottom, doesn't matter which one you start first. Get them both started. Snug them down. Very good. And in this case, we're going to slide the sight into the mount. Now on this one, you can adjust where you want it. If you want it further out from the bow, closer into the bow. This is a really nice 3D rest. target rest, and then you just tighten down the set screw that holds it. So that's very basic setup for a sight. We'll get to adjusting the pins when we tune the bow and shoot the bow. This is just the basic setup. So that's that.
Go ahead.
All right, now that we have the rest and the sight and the loop installed, next two things we need to do, cat whiskers and a peep. We'll start off with the cat whiskers. There's lots of ways to do it. I found a pretty easy way to go is to wrap them around the string and tie them in before you get to cutting them to string length. The first thing that you need to do before you even get your cat whiskers ready is you need to put some serving string and get it ready, because once you wrap the cat whiskers around the string, you're going to need something ready, and you only have two hands, so it's easy to get this started. What I do is I take some serving string and I make a loop with the serving string, just loop it around, and then I put it around the string, and all I'm doing is making a half loop that we're going to tie around the cat whiskers. And I just leave it there hanging for when we get the cat whiskers ready. You can use cat whiskers several different ways. I'll show you a way that's pretty cool. Makes two colors. You can make 3 colors, 4 colors, whatever. You put them together. In this case, I'll use orange and green just so we can see what it looks like. The cat whiskers that I use come in lengths. These are about 8 inches long, 10 inches long. I can put them together, cut them in half, and then I can use them on both ends of the string. So I'll lay them together, cut them in half, and then one side goes up top and one side goes on the bottom. I've found the easier way to do this is to wrap this whole setup. You just lay both pieces on top of each other, and then you wrap it around the string. Sometimes they get a little difficult, but you want to keep it fairly tight, as tight as you can get it wrapped around the string. Once you wrap it, you can hold it with your one hand. And with the other hand, you can kind of slide that loop that you made up to the middle. Once you slide it up there, then you can pull it tight, and you take the 2 tag ends, you wrap it, and then you make a double knot. I wrap it twice, pull it, and then make a knot out of it. Do it again. Then I'll just take my scissors and cut that down fairly close, and then burn the rest. Now you gotta be careful you don't burn the rubber material for the cat whiskers, but I'll just burn it down, get it close, and you're good. So that's the start of that. You get that the way you want it, in the position that you want it, and then this is the fun part. You cut it. Now you want to cut it whatever length you want. Some people like them longer, some people like them shorter. I'll cut them in the middle so you can see what they look like. You take the end of the cat whisker material and you pull it. And as you cut it, it will separate. And it'll turn into golf ball sized or whatever size you like. Then you can just take the ends and pull them. Sometimes a couple of pieces will hang together, but you can make them whatever length you want from there. So that's one way to do your cat whiskers. They come out pretty good. They definitely quiet your bow. You can do the other end, same way. Take your serving thread, loop it around the string, get it ready, Set it down at that end. Take your cat whisker material. Loop it around the string. Pull your serving thread over it. Pull it tight. Knot it. Burn it. Cut it to length. Spread them out. And that's that. Multicolored. You can use any colors you want, and they can move around. And that's that. And while you have the bow in the press, the easiest way to do the peep, installing the peep in the string, if you've never done this before, it's easy to do with two people. Before you put the bow in the press, you want to draw the bow back and have somebody else with you. Somebody else can look at the bow and put a mark approximately where the peep is going to go. They make a tool that you can install. So if you had another bow where you already had a good peep placement, you can mark it and put it on the new bow, and it crimps it right down to where you need it. But if you don't have one of those tools, you can have somebody help you and mark it. You can put a little notch in it with your fingernail, or you can have somebody do it for you. They can always be adjusted once they're installed. So in this case, I'm just going to show you how to install it. Before you press the bow, you want to make sure that your limb bolts are backed off a couple turns, so you don't put undue stress on the limbs. Once you're there, I'm going to put a couple twists in. Take some strain off of your string. The spot that you marked for where the peep is going to go, you want to untwist the string, separate the strands. If it's a two-color string like we have here, it's pretty simple because the two colors separate, and you'll have an even number of strands on each side. Sometimes you have a single colored string, and that might be a little tougher, but you still can do the same thing. Alright, so once you get the strands separated, sometimes it's not as easy to do it as it is to say it. There we go. Got my strands separated. I'm going to take a peep, just happen to have one laying around here, install it. And this type of peep that I'm using has two slots in the side. You want to split each of those halves that you already split once in half again, so that you have even number of strands on each side of the peep. Once you get it in place with the strands evened out, you want to put tension on so it doesn't fall out, and then back your press out a little bit. And once you got tension on the string again, then you want to go back to your string loop. Because you stuck something in the middle of the string, it's gonna turn it a little bit, so you can move your loop back to straight up and down in position. And as long as that peep is straight, you're where you need to be, then you can serve it in. There's a lot of different ways to serve in your peep sights. I use a pretty simple way, very similar to how I tied in the cat whiskers. And the reason I do it this way is because you can adjust your peep once it's already in there without cutting the serving off. So very similar to the way I did that before. Loop the serving material around, pull the tag through the middle,